Remind everybody that tonight's meeting will be broadcast live. Tonight's invocation will be led by Lisa Cole, the Town of Sahuarita Town Clerk, and our pledge leader, our student, didn't show up, so I had asked Lisa if she would continue with the pledge after the invocation. Thank you, Lisa.
Lord, we are meeting today to conduct matters of business. Guide our hearts and our minds in the spirit of fairness, right thought, and speech. Impart your supreme wisdom upon our activities so that our affairs may reach a successful conclusion. Thank you for being our source of guidance tonight. Amen. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Appreciate it. Mr. Felix, may I have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Gillespie.
Here.
Councilmember Lisk. Here. Councilmember Lytle.
Here.
Councilmember Morales. Here. Councilmember Priolo.
Here.
Vice Mayor Egbert.
Here.
Mayor Murphy.
Here.
Quorum present.
Thank you. Tonight we have two proclamations. The first one I'll present declaring 18 May through 24 May as National Public Works Week, and I'll be presenting that to Daniel Logan. And the second one will be proclaiming May 4th through May 10th as Professionals Municipal Clerks Week, and Elise Duran, our Senior Office Assistant, I'll be presenting that to her. So if Daniel and Elise can join me at the podium, please.
Bless you.
Team effort.
Team effort. No I in team, right? So we'll start with Public Works, and I might kind of go a little bit this way because it used to be over there, as you know. Whereas Public Works professionals are essential to the infrastructure, facilities, and services that ensure the sustainable and resilient communities, Public Works, quality of life, and well-being of the town of Sahuarita, Arizona. And whereas these vital services are delivered through the dedicated efforts of Public Works professionals, including engineers, managers, and employees in both government and the private sector, who maintain and improve our transportation, water, waste, and public building systems. And whereas public understanding of the importance of Public Works is crucial for the community's well-being, and whereas in 2025 marks the 65th annual National Public Works Week, sponsored by the American Public Works Association, and whereas we recognize the significant contributions of our Public Works professionals to protect our health, safety, and quality of life, now therefore be it resolved that I, Tom Murphy, the Mayor of the town of Sahuarita, on behalf of our town council, do hereby proclaim May 18th through May 24th as Public Works Week, and testimony whereof I have hereunto set my hand to be and caused to be affixed the seal of the town of Sahuarita on this 28th day of April 2025. Congratulations. Thank you. That deserves a hand.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And we wouldn't be able to provide the services or do what we do without the residents and everybody in this room. So we thank you for the opportunity to serve.
Thanks. Appreciate it. Did you get a picture, Lisa? Sorry, we're doing the new setup, so do you want them back up?
Maybe after.
Okay. Don't go too far. Next is Professional Municipal Clerks Week. Whereas the office of the Professional Municipal Clerk, a time-honored and vital part of local government, exists throughout the world, and whereas the office of the Professional Municipal Clerk is the oldest among public servants, and whereas the office of Professional Municipal Clerk provides the professional link between the citizens, the local governing bodies, and agencies of government and other levels. Whereas the professional municipal clerks have pledged to serve mindful of their neutrality and impartiality, rendering equal service to all. And whereas the professional municipal clerk serves as the information center on functions of local government and community. Whereas professional municipal clerks continually strive to improve the administration of the affairs of the office of this professional municipal clerk through participation in education programs, seminars, workshops, and the annual meetings of their state, county, and international professional organizations. Whereas the most appropriate that we recognize the accomplishments of the office of the professional municipal clerk. Now therefore it be resolved that I, Tom Murphy, the mayor of the town of Sahuarita, on behalf of the town council, do hereby proclaim May 4th through May 10th as Professional Municipal Clerks Week, and testimony whereof I have hereunto set my hand and caused to be affixed the seal of the town of Sahuarita on this 28th day of April 2025. Congratulations. We'll do this one down. Thanks.
Mayor, if I could just say a few quick words. Yes. Mayor, Council, thank you for recognizing Municipal Clerks Week. I do want to give a special shout out to the clerk team, Mark, Elise, and Gabby. These are the unsung heroes of local government. They are working tirelessly behind the scenes to ensure that our residents and staff are given the best service possible. And so the only words that I can sum up is thank you. Thank you for your hard work. Thank you for your dedication. And thank you for your service. Happy Municipal Clerks Week.
Nice, very nice. And thank you, Lisa.
I don't know if that was said enough, but who just addressed us is our town clerk. And,
Yes.
and she's an exceptional town clerk with a lot of experience in leading that department. So thank you, Lisa, for sharing that acknowledgement with your staff and the community we serve. Thank you.
Thanks, and she didn't include, she keeps the mayor and council out of trouble too, so that's a very important key. Next is call to the public. The call to the public is now open. Individuals may speak for 3 minutes, spokespersons 10. The council cannot discuss matters not on the agenda. However, at the end of the call to the public, council members may respond to criticism, request staff to review the issue, or add the topic to a future agenda. And I have a couple here. I'll begin with Nina Luxembourg. And for folks that haven't spoken here before, there's 3 lights. The green light starts, the yellow light means you have a minute left, and then the red light means your 3 minutes is concluded, if you can wrap up your comments at that point. Thank you and welcome.
Where's the green one? Good evening. I'm Dr. Nina Luxembourg, local physician and Sahuarita resident, and I'm very concerned about the heavy truck traffic from proposed Copper World mine will have a devastating impact on our town. Santa Rita Road is 1 lane in each direction. HUD-based trucks go 10 to 15 miles per hour above speed limit. They're so wide that to turn from Sahuarita Road, they have to go into the opposite lane. Past the residential homes and through the biodiversity experimental range, the road is unpaved and the tires are kicking up dust for 8 miles. Pima County warned state environmental regulators last year that HUD-based truck traffic could, quote, drastically increase, unquote, dust and potentially violate clean air standards. Current truck volume is nothing compared to what it'll be if Copper World mine opens. The projected volume of 40,000 one-way truck trips per year, or 110 one-way truck trips a day, or 1 truck every 15 minutes, was extrapolated from a 2013 environmental report containing the only public traffic data by the previous owner of Rosemont Mine. After Hudbay bought Rosemont, which is on the east side of the mountains, Hudbay began purchasing parcels of private land extending to the west, where they plan to construct open-pit mines called Copper World. The west side has no major road access. Interstate 19 is about 15 miles away. Trucks will haul copper concentrate, diesel fuel, and other hazardous chemicals and explosives on Santa Rita Road, shared by school buses, residential traffic, bicyclists, and joggers, and on Sahuarita Road, our main commercial corridor, and where our elementary, middle, and high schools are. When Hudbay plans to modify its production process at a future date, trucks will also be hauling millions of pounds of sulfuric acid to be sold overseas as a commercial product. What are we turning our pristine town into? Because Copper World will be on privately owned land, Hudbay has not been required to disclose truck traffic information. Recently, Hudbay told a Tucson newspaper it is too soon to provide, quote, precise traffic estimates, unquote. I don't believe it's too soon to provide traffic estimates. The public needs and has a right to know the safety and health impact of excessive heavy truck traffic. What is the projected number of traffic accidents, injuries, fatalities? How much air pollution, noise pollution? How much rotten egg odors from sulfuric acid cargo? How much excessive light from headlights? Because Copper World and its trucking will be a 24/7 operation. And I bring to your attention the common law tort of nuisance, which protects the citizens' rights for the use and enjoyment of their property. And heavy truck traffic will be interfering with our rights. Nearby Mission and Sarita mines use rail access for transport. Rosemont mine would have used State Road 83. Copper World, projected to be the 4th largest copper mine in the U.S., producing 85,000 tons per year, will exclusively be using heavy trucks. Yet most major U.S. copper mines have rail access. Neither the state, Pima County, nor the town of Sahuarita have released even a rudimentary traffic impact study, while Hudbay remains silent. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for being here. Well done. It's 3 seconds to spare. Next is Steve Brown. Thanks, Lisa. Good evening.
Good evening, and thank you for the opportunity to address the council. My name is Steve Brown. I live in Tucson now, but I think I would qualify as a Sarita native, having been born in Tucson in the 1940s and growing up on the Santa Rita Experimental Range until I got into my 20s. My family, one of several Brown families with history in this town, got our mail at Box 8, Sarita, when the Sarita Post Office reopened in the 1950s. The first postmaster, back in the 1800s was named Brown, so not necessarily a relative. Maybe you've read my piece in the Friends of Sarita book, Treasured Nuggets from the Past, where I talk about my career as a teacher with a focus on the concept of truth. I retired from teaching a couple of times, most recently from TUSD, Tucson Unified, when the pandemic closed our classrooms in 2020. And because I was over 70, they said I was especially at risk, and so they asked me if I would be interested in retiring. So I did. So that's my second retirement. These days I volunteer in schools and through community organizations advertising for the ideals of education, most of all for the truth. I'm here as a volunteer. I figure I've got a few more years to advocate for the dignity of truth. I'm here to encourage you all to dig a little deeper as you seek the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, about the many risks that Hudbay's Copper World project, as currently envisioned, poses to Sarita's citizens, folks whom you are elected to represent. I encourage you to research this project and this company from every angle. Be skeptical. Exercise your critical thinking skills. Ask yourselves, what's the story behind the story when Hudbay tells you something, gives you a hard hat, poses you for a photo? Are they good neighbors? Will they be good neighbors in 5 years, 10 years, 50 years? What's their track record? Mining has always been part of Sarita, and members of my family have been involved in the mining industry. But I'm discouraged by this particular mine in this particular place at this particular time. And I don't want Sarita to be a sacrifice zone or a future Superfund site. So thank you very much for this opportunity to share. I have copies with some of the other things that I was going to say, but I wanted to keep under that 3-minute mark.
Thank you, and I
Thank you
appreciate
for
that.
coming with
And
me.
if you want to give them to Lisa, she can distribute to them,
Okay.
to us afterwards.
Thank you very much.
And make copies if necessary. Thank you.
And Mr. Brown, thank you for your service to all of the students as you continue to do so. That's remarkable. Thank you.
Next is Eric Burkett. Good evening and welcome.
Good evening, excuse me. Good evening, Mayor Murphy, council members, staff. First, I want to say congratulations to the new town council members. Congratulations, and introduce myself. My name is Eric Burkett. I work for Global Water Resources. We own and operate 2 of the water utilities here in town, one of them being the Las Quintas Arenas Water Company, as well as the Farmers Water Company. So basically, I just wanted to give a quick update on the Farmers Water Company rate case that we filed about a year ago. Just a little background, Global Water acquired the Farmers Water Company in January of 2023. Global Water is a highly regulated utility company by both the Arizona Department of Environmental Quality as well as the Arizona Corporate Commission. We filed the rate case in June, on June 27th in 2024. The reason we filed for the rate case is the current rates were based on 2017 cost. Inflation for water utilities since 2017 have increased by approximately 25%. As part of the rate case filing, it basically triggers a major audit by the Arizona Corporate Commission. They dive into our books, into our records. They want to make sure the money we're investing into the utility is factual, so they confirm it. So on April 22nd, 2025 of this year, we had our final open meeting with the ACC. There was an opportunity for people to still intervene. It was in front of the commissioners, and essentially the commissioners' final decision was a 5-0 vote to adopt unanimously the settlement agreement. So the reason I'm here is because I wanted to make this office aware in case they receive any calls from concerned citizens about a rate increase. So the process and timing is going to be 3 installments phased in over 3 years. The first installment will go into effect May 1st of this year. The second installment will commence in November 1st of this year. And the final phase-in will be in May of 2026. So I'm sure people are curious as to what those installments look like. So the average median residential customer uses approximately 3,500 gallons of water per month. That bill is $15.48 as it stands today. With the first phase-in, it'll be a $1.32 increase. The second phase-in will be a $2.90 increase. And the third phase-in will be a $2.66 increase. And essentially it comes out to about $6.84 for the average user in town. So that's, I just wanted to update everyone so they're aware. And if anyone has any phone calls or you have questions, you know where to reach me.
Thanks, sir. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's all the cards I had for call to the public. Did anybody else want to address the town council on any matter? Seeing no movement, I'll close the call to public and move to council and town manager brief summary of events. Councilman Lytle?
Nothing here.
Nothing? Debbie?
Nothing.
Kim?
No.
Diane?
No.
Dr. Gillespie? Kara?
The only thing I have is good luck to all the students that will be having finals in the next couple weeks.
So is that, we're supposed to be praying for all our students probably? And the parents, more importantly. I had a couple. We had a really nice Sahuarita cleanup day. I see Liz here from our Sahuarita cleanup crew. We had about 110 volunteers, including Councilman Morales and Priello. Myself were out there. Santa Rita Fire, Stephanie Magnuson, for the principal at Sahuarita High School. And that was the same day as a major track event, so she was bouncing between both, helping the community. Our Adventures with Friends group, our special needs group, they were all out in force. The Sidewinders baseball team, they came back, I'm sure they were the winner, they came back with a pickup truck full of bags, multiple bags. So it was a very good event. And if you're interested, and you could see Liz after the meeting, the next highway adopt cleanup is May 17th. And that's her official part on the highway. So if you have any questions, you can respond and get with her. Thanks to our Park and Rec department, we had a great bunny bonanza, Easter egg hunt. That went really well. I had the honor of representing our veterans today. The Secretary of the VA, the Honorable Doug Collins, was here at the Tucson VA Hospital, and we had a little roundtable discussion with him. So I think it's the first secretary in any position I've ever actually had a chance to engage with.
Wow.
So serving on Congressman Siscomani's Veterans Affairs Advisory Group gave me the opportunity to do that. So it was a wonderful day. A few of us will be attending the Chamber's annual business dinner tomorrow night, so thanks for Randy putting all of that together. Oh, Wednesday night. I was thinking it was Tuesday. Thank you. Appreciate it. I would have been there by myself tomorrow night, enjoying the casino. And it was, again, thanks to the courts, last Friday, we had a 4th grade mock trial. I may be smarter than the 4th graders. I'm not smarter than a 5th grader. But it was really good, and Councilman Lisk was there with me. So, and that was on their own time. They took this time, and they took nursery rhymes. And was the wolf guilty? Was the pig guilty? And there was lots of hung juries. It was interesting trying to get everybody together on the same page when you're presenting evidence. So that was a wonderful time. And reminder, our next regularly scheduled meeting is Monday, May 12th, 2025. And I will move on to Mr. Felix. Would you please read item number 8?
Town Manager's Report highlighting employee and department accomplishments, milestones, capital improvement projects, development projects, and town events.
Thank you. And Mr. Dilly will be presenting this item. Good evening.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. I've tried for 3 years to instill a bow tie Wednesday in this organization, and there's a few straggler followers to that effort. I seem, in most cases, to be like the lone. But Mayor, you look sharp in that bow tie. And
thank you, Shane.
I'm thinking we might start a bow tie Monday, and I'll follow suit.
No, you won't. You lied to me today. So.
Anyway, it looks sharp, Mayor. So thank you. I appreciate the opportunity. It's a privilege to just kind of go over briefly the manager's report for April. Again, it's a big effort by all the departments to put this information together for the benefit of the council, but also the benefit of the public. The document is archived on the town's website in the town manager's office portion of the website. So encourage the public to go there at their leisure to stay up to date on stuff that's happening in our organization and across the community. That said, next slide, please. We'd like to, this is a report for the period March 15th through April 15th. During this period of time, we've added 3 new employees to our town family: Ruth Olivas, Josiah Farmer, and Orlando Gonzalez. Ruth and Josiah are in the Parks and Rec department, and Orlando is with our police department. We welcome our new family members and grateful that they chose Sahuarita, and we know that they're going to make great contributions and enjoy our family. We also want to recognize and make sure that we spotlight our employees that reach service milestones with the organization. This reporting period, we're recognizing 2 employees, Luis Padillas and Isaiah Islas, both of which are officers in our police department and celebrating their 5th year milestones with our organization. Grateful for their dedicated service. Next slide. We'll move into major department highlights, and again, only pulling out bits and pieces of the report. There's a lot more information there. If you haven't had a chance to look at it, I encourage you to do so. During this reporting period, the police department celebrated promotions of Lieutenant Heath and Sergeant Sanchez. That was on Friday, March 28th. We congratulate them on their promotions and their career advancements with our organization in serving our community. Also want to note that members of the town manager's office accompanied Mayor Murphy and Councilmember Lytle on this year's annual federal lobbying trip to Washington, D.C. I know we spoke about that a little bit at your retreat last week, but this is the first council meeting that we've had since the lobbying trip. That went extremely well. We met with our congressional delegation, both on the Senate side and the House side. We also met with the Army Corps of Engineers on the environmental program side and on the civic engineering side of it, and the civil engineering side of it. and very, very productive in advancing the priorities that were established by the town council for many of our projects and your legislative priorities. It was already spoken to about the annual community cleanup event. Town staff participated in that. We didn't participate on Saturday, but we did take some time on Thursday of that week where our employees got out in coordination with the volunteer group to hit certain areas that the volunteer group was not going to be able to hit, and collectively gathered a lot of trash for, to help improve the beauty of our community. So we're really grateful for our ability to participate in that, and look forward to doing it again next year.
Yeah, that helped because we were able to ignore that whole area because we already knew and they knew it was already cleaned up. So thank you.
It was a good partnership, and a little coordination went a long way. In this same breath, I want to thank our partner in all of this, the Public Works Department. They supplied, the trash bags, the gloves, the picker up sticks or whatever we wanted, grabbers or whatever. And without that, it'd be really, really hard to pull off an event like this. So really appreciate Public Works and the support.
Shane, can I interrupt for just a second?
Please.
I should have said Mr. Mayor.
No, it's okay.
I just wanted to highlight, because we've been talking about this cleanup, I thought I would do a shout out to a local business of ours that works it's AAA. As I was traveling to work today, there was a trash can that was overflowing, which they're going to get charged extra fee if it is, but it had fallen on the ground. And it was scattered everywhere, and I thought of Liz, and they had pulled over, and this AAA was picking it all up. And so I just wanted to highlight a company that sees a need and takes care of it with nobody knew it, and it's just a great thing about, speaking of trash, and preventing our community from getting dirty, so.
Especially during windy days.
Yep, so I just wanted to highlight that thing that I saw
That's
today.
awesome. Thank you. And we certainly have our share of windy days here. So I appreciate that call out. We also were proud to announce that Medea Isagiri, she was actually going to be here. She's the senior that was on the agenda to do the Pledge of Allegiance. Well, she's a senior from the Saharita High School. She volunteers once a week in the legal department of law. She's earned a prestigious scholarship to attend the University of Arizona this fall. Ms. Isagiri is one of 4 high school students in Southern Arizona to be awarded the Victoria Teresa Arias Memorial Foundation Scholarship, which provides $10,000 a year renewable for up to 4 years, so that's up to $40,000 to go towards a degree. So that's amazing, and we're grateful that she's a part of our team and kind of getting her feet wet, in municipal government. So that's awesome. Next slide, please. Parks and Rec. Also, we have a little bit in here on the splash pad. Obviously, it's front and center. It's there. It's beautiful. I know my kids. We have t-ball over there every week, and they just look at that longingly, right? And so we're super excited to get that opened. Had a little bit of a hiccup in terms of the program panel that runs, the keeping the water sanitized, and which is incredibly important from a public health standpoint. And so we're really hopeful to get that thing open within the next 14 days or so. So hopefully sooner, but we're excited about that. The Man in the Maze disc golf, we've already had people out there, running the course and doing it. It's a work in progress, but moving very, very nicely in partnership with the theme of that course is the mining industry. And so we've got partnerships with ASARCO and Freeport, Hudbay, and they're working to help us put that theme together using theme equipment to just give it the right ambiance. And so we're really excited about that. We had the first of this year's Saharita Sunset Market that occurred on March 14th. It was really cold that day and it was really windy, but everybody had a good time, and the next market is scheduled for Friday, May 9th, so we encourage the public to get out there and participate. Our solid waste, next slide, please. Is that yeah, thank you. The Solid Waste Division placed the first order of 95-gallon carts So they should be arriving here in a little while. And this is in anticipation of the rollout of our solid waste program. We have people that are transitioning from their current provider to the new provider already, and it makes sense if we can coordinate that with the actual carts, then we're saving everybody a lot of time and resources. So we're trying to be as proactive with that as possible. And if we start seeing some carts out there before the September 1st date, well, that's probably why. So we're just trying to be smart about it. But that program is scheduled to start officially on the 1st of September this year, and we're continuing to receive good feedback on the change, and that it seems to be not as invasive as perhaps we had thought on the front end. We'd like to recognize Nathan Barrett, our Deputy Director in Community Development. He recently attended the National Planning Conference in Denver. It's a 4-day conference, had a number of opportunities for networking and learning, keeping the edge of the knife sharp in terms of professional services and delivery. Best practices, innovative ideas. That's where our staff get those things from. So it was great to have him attend that. Obviously, our efforts to continue to move forward with the general plan update is fully underway with completing a community survey number 3 and encouraging our residents to participate in that. On the economic development side, April 30th this week, Economic Development is hosting a business lending expo at no cost to our participants. The event is designed to help connect business owners with lenders, funding programs, and resources. All of this is just one more thing that we're trying to do to support local business and our entrepreneurs and people that want to get started and see their dreams come to fruition from a business standpoint. Next slide. We'll jump into the capital improvement stuff. A lot of information here, but just to call it out, we're really wrapping up the re-rating efforts, the re-rating project at our wastewater treatment plant or water reclamation facility. This consists of just closing out documents and making sure that we're running through the operation manual and maintenance schedules for the enhancements that we've put out there. So that's really important. And then everybody knows as you drive down
Duval Mine
Road towards Walmart or Nogales Highway, we've got a major intersection improvement going on over there in that area. That intersection sees a lot of traffic, and so anytime you want to improve an intersection like that, it's going to be a bit disruptive. Really call for the continued patience on the part of our public who uses that intersection on an ongoing basis or a frequent basis. When complete, it'll be a great enhancement to the circulation in that area, adding a right turn lane, adding expanding the left turn bay so you can stack more cars there, and then introducing yet another left turn opportunity further to the west into that shopping mall. So we're really excited about those changes, and it's going really, really well, and it's on time and on budget. So
And shout out to our PD. I know when we were changing out the poles and the signal heads, it turned into a 4-way stop, and we had a lot of officers out there sort of dodging traffic and keeping it crash-free. So appreciate the PD for doing that.
we love our PD.
Yes,
Thank
we
you.
do.
Mayor and Council, that concludes my update. There's a lot more in that report, but if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Thanks. Any questions? And thanks for condensing it. I mean, years ago, we were getting Park and Rec separate from manager separate, and for me, it's really helpful, especially if I'm on the radio, to go to one place to have all that information. So thanks again for doing that. Appreciate it. Item number 9, Mr. Felix.
April 2025 legislative update.
And Mina Marcos, our management analyst, will be presenting this item. Welcome. Mike.
Oh, there we go. Good evening, Mayor Murphy, members of the council. For the record, Mina Marcos, management analyst for the town manager's office.
Can you just bring it a little bit closer to you? Thanks.
Sure. It's always a pleasure to see you all here tonight to discuss the 2025 Arizona legislative session. As of today, The legislature has been in session for 106 days. Bills introduced 1,679 bills. Of those bills, 145 have been transmitted over to the governor's office. 93 of those measures have been signed by the governor, and 52 of those measures have been vetoed. April 22nd, 2025 was the 100th day of the legislative session and thus the constitutional end of session. However, as anticipated, the session has been extended and will continue. Bills are no longer being heard in committees, they continue to progress on the floor as each chamber hearing has concluded, and potential amendments will be added to the committee of the whole, and final passage will be held by third read. Tonight, staff will go over the recent bill moratorium that was issued by the governor and the passage of HB 2945, and highlight a few bills that concern local control and finance. And finally, we'll receive an update on the state budget in HB 2201 from Karen Cruz. The governor announced on Thursday, April 17th, a moratorium on signing all new legislation until the legislators passed a bipartisan agreement and viable proposal to fund the Division of Developmental Disabilities, citing precedent from former governors to spur negotiations. After months of back and forth between the lawmakers and governors, they reached a finalized bipartisan agreement last week to address the urgent funding shortfall. HB 2945 was amended to reflect the overall entire final deal, which redirects $122 million in funding solely from the prescription drug rebate fund, as opposed to the sweeping funds from the housing fund. Last Thursday, April 24th, the legislature transmitted and the governor signed HB 2945, and with the signing of the bill into law, the moratorium has been lifted, and now session will progress as normal, and the governor will continue to sign bills as she receives them. Council members, I'd also like to note that all House concurrent resolutions and Senate concurrent resolutions that have moved through both chambers of the House and the Senate are all sitting in rules, as their final destination will not be the governor's desk, but rather will be directed to the voters. This is a chance for lawmakers to kind of pick and choose which ballot measures they want to pursue, as opposed to filling the ballot with several different measures. It's more of a political assessment. I'd like to direct our attention to SCR 1008, which prohibits municipalities and counties from levying or increasing taxes. As discussed before several times, the measure would inhibit local governments the ability to be able to make decisions with a simple majority. With a seven-member council, a 5-person majority would be needed to levy any specific tax. Staff continues to hear that there is working opposition in the House, but because the bill is currently in rules, we haven't heard much commotion surrounding the bill. Moving on to HB 2222, which requires cities and towns to submit a report at least 90 days before entering into settle agreements over $500,000, and then $1 million. For settlements over $1 million, they would have to also be reported to the JLBC. This measure, again, council members, interferes with local decision-making and how to basically best manage the risks that are involved in the matters that involve settlements. There is also a time and cost component to this bill, requiring that the report be sent out not only to the governor, but to the Attorney General and all of legislative leadership, which will create many administrative burdens. The town is opposed to this measure as an issue of infringement concerning local control, and again, staff is currently engaged as the vote now heads over to the Senate. HB 2033 imposes a statewide mandate requiring all cities and towns and counties with populations over 5,000 to adopt an online instant permitting system for residential solar and energy storage installations by January 1st, 2027. The bill also requires remote inspection options by July 1st, 2027, limiting local discretion over how permitting and inspections are conducted. While the ultimate goal of this bill is to streamline the adoption of solar, the bill removes vital local control measures over the permit processing guidelines and safety assurances traditionally given to local government level departments for the unique, you can say, community needs and infrastructure. The bill also restricts municipalities from requiring manual permit reviews or in-person inspections for most home power projects. Any review of projects from the town of Sahuarita ensures the highest level of service and quality for our residents. Again, safety is our number one priority, an inherent priority to the town, and any legislation that would undermine and instantly permit it energy storage installations and associated infrastructure has the potential to present hazards. Staff has been in constant and frequent communication with both stakeholders and the league to come up with ways to compromise, but I think that after talking with our community development department and getting getting into discussions with staff, we continue to take firm opposition for the bill. Council members, are there any questions regarding that?
No, thanks.
Both SB 1018 and SCR 1014 establish a mechanism to reduce individual tax income rates annually from tax year 2026 by applying 50% of the state's structural surplus as determined by the JLBC towards reductions. Again, as mentioned in our council retreat last Thursday, staff has concerns over any adjustments regarding the revenue sharing fund and any implications or any adjustments to that ultimately provides, you can say, concern over the stability of that revenue source. There is also no mechanism within the measure to raise the rates if there is a shortfall. The mechanism only applies if there is a surplus. So that is something that we are concerned about, and staff continues to display the town's opposition to that matter, to that bill for both the Senate version and the Senate concurrent version. The final bill that staff continues to keep track of is HCR 2021, which is the food tax bill. Again, you know, I know that I've bore you many times with this specific topic, but I want to be very clear about the implications. Even though we don't have a food tax, currently any city or town that does have a food tax above 2% can maintain their existing food tax. However, any municipality below the 2% cap has to seek voter approval for that, and they cannot go over the 2%. Staff continues to remain engaged in discussions surrounding the food tax as it makes its way across the legislature. And with that, I'll turn it over to Karen to discuss the budget in HB 2201.
Good evening, Karen.
Everyone. Good evening, Mayor and Council. For the record, this is Karen Cruz with the Cruz Group. Happy to be with you this evening, and hopefully you're enjoying the last gasps of beautiful weather that we're going to have for a little while. As Mina said, related to the budget, now that the parents as caregivers issue has been resolved and signed and funded, and the moratorium on bills is lifted, Bills are starting to move now, and so we're starting to see a lot more bills in the House and the Senate, which also means that they're getting closer to a budget deal. At least they're starting to talk more earnestly about a budget deal. The Finance Advisory Committee issued a revenue forecast, actually a bunch of information in addition to a revenue forecast in mid-April with two scenarios. One being ignoring all of the external factors that are happening at the federal level with tariffs, the threat of tariffs off and on, and other influencers of the market. If we were to ignore that, we would have $650-ish million in surplus dollars to deal with. If we do pay attention and opt a more conservative approach with a budget deal, then we would opt to pay attention to external factors, market forces, and adjust down to roughly $277 million in surplus funds, which is really not that much. So we believe that the legislature is going to opt for a more conservative approach, and it's on a sliding scale. It's not an either or. They can do anything in between those two figures. And they probably will come up with something in between those two figures, but probably something on the lower end to be more cautious. There are still a few issues outstanding that they have to deal with. One is Proposition 123, which is the education funding that was voter approved 20 years ago. It is now sunsetting. And so they're needing to they need to renew it and put it back out to the voters. But within that, there's some conversations by Republicans about some policy issues around school choice that they might like to incorporate into that and put it to the voters. And the Democrats are opposed to that. And so that's really the conversation happening there. The Diamondbacks bill that is percolating along will have a fiscal impact to the state. That is also being negotiated now, so that's another unknown. And then state employee health care and the school facilities fund are two others. Those are all outstanding issues, one-time funds that have yet to be addressed with the surplus funds that are being discussed. Any questions on the budget? There's a lot more I could say about it. It's about to get really hairy down there at the legislature, so I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Karen? Just for my colleagues, in the legislature, typically what happens is a city might, go in some direction, too slow on development or whatever it might be. And my concern is they do a broad brush approach. And in the guise of trying to fix a particular municipality, we end up getting hit with local control. So if you feel kind of that way, that probably is the way it's happening. Would you disagree with that, Karen?
No, Mayor, I would not. I think, it's been an interesting dynamic in the last probably 5 years or so where Republicans have taken it upon themselves to try to limit local control because they don't like some of the policies that some of the municipalities have been doing from a social perspective, or they feel like some cities have not been as fiscally prudent as they should be, or they're spending their money on different initiatives that they disagree with. And so it's been an interesting phenomenon. And no, you're absolutely right, which is why Mina does a fabulous job of keeping tabs on all of those issues for you. And then he and I work together along with our partner cities, our sister cities through the league, and fight a lot of those back. And we have a governor now who tends to side with cities. So we're lucky in that. We have a divided government, which is good. It's healthy.
Thank you. Any questions for Karen? No? Mina?
There's one thing, council members and Mayor Murphy. As you all know, staff has been recently engaged very much in the dialogue with our representatives in DC, and with the help of Nexus, we continue our efforts to lobby on behalf of our residents for specific community needs and projects. Due to circumstances related to the passing of Representative Grijalva, we are always trying to find opportunities to establish ourselves in the best position for, again, our residents. And one of the opportunities that we are continually looking at is maybe perhaps going to other members of Congress and lobbying for our projects. And we recently received news today that there may be a few opportunities open. So that is really great news, and we are willing and happy to be considered for any of those project openings, and staff will continue to be keeping council in the loop as we move forward.
That's good news. Thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate the update. Any questions for me? No. Thanks a lot. Appreciate it. Shane, did you want to add anything? I saw you leaning, so I wasn't sure.
Mayor and Council, just to underscore how valuable it is to have our lobbying partners, both Karen Cruz at the state level, Nexus Consulting at the federal level. I know that I've been engaged with Karen on that. Is Karen still with us? Probably not. But
Nope.
Yep, I am here.
it was that House bill. Was it 2201, Karen?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah. So I mean that's just it required a lot of coordination to get to where we were at. That largely was spearheaded by Karen. I was engaged in wrapping AMRP into it, and some of my counterparts in Buckeye as well as in Queen Creek, to try to get some reasonableness to some of these bills. And so I just wanted to echo how important it is that we have those voices that are constantly at the state legislature or constantly at in DC on the Hill, just advocating for our best interest in moving things forward.
Thanks. Appreciate it. We'll move on to item number 10, which is the consent agenda. I'll entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Mr. Felix, item number 11.
Public hearing and possible action of ordinance number 2025-182, approving the rezoning of approximately 233 acres of land generally located south of Cerrito Road and the Town Hall complex, west of La Villita and north of Valtaro Road in Cerrito, Arizona. Tax parcel numbers 303-360098, 303-33012E, and 303-33012F, from rural residential and rural homestead to specific plan.
Thank you. And Ms. Henderson, or Lanthea Henderson, our planning and zoning manager, will lead the discussion and introduce Deanna. Is that pronounced correctly? Deanna. I tried my best, sorry. Hatch of the WLB Group. And this will require a public hearing, but we'll hear from staff first.
Correct.
If there's any questions, and then I'll open up the public hearing. Orlanthea, welcome.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and council members. Before we get started, beginning the discussion on the parcel 30 agenda item, I wanted to address an error that occurred with the public notice related to the specific plan rezoning process. The required public notification radius for a new specific plan is 600. However, for the Planning and Zoning Commission public hearing, we mistakenly used the 300-foot radius that's required for other types of rezonings. The correct radius was used for notification of tonight's public hearing. We consulted with the Department of Law, which confirmed that the Arizona state law mandates only one public noticed hearing for a specific plan. The 600-foot notification radius for tonight's town council meeting complies with state law requirements. Staff recommends that town council proceed with the public hearing to gather public feedback And then based on tonight's feedback, the council can determine whether to return the item to the Planning and Zoning Commission for another public hearing that would apply the 600-foot notification limit, or move forward with a decision on the specific plan tonight.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions on that before we move forward? No? Okay, please proceed.
Okay. So tonight, Liz Madsen and Deanna Hutch are representing the WLB Group. They're the consultant hired to process the Parcel 3 rezoning. Liz is a senior planner, and Deanna is the planning and landscape designer for the WLB Group. And actually, I have down that Liz will present the agenda item 11. And we are available, as well as Liz and Deanna, after the presentation for questions.
Thank you. Welcome.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and
If you can just
Members.
move the microphone,
Yeah.
a little bit. Too.
and members of the council. My name is Liz Madsen, and I am here from the WLB Group, accompanied by Deanna Hatch. And we are here to present the Parcel 30 specific plan tonight on behalf of the town. The location of the property is at the northwest corner of La Vita Road and El Toro, as shown on the slide. A brief history about the property: the 87 northern acres of the property, located north of the railroad spur, is the former location of the mill and tailings deposition area for what was called the Eagle Pitcher Mill Facility. This facility processed lead zinc ore between 1943 and 1959. In the late 1960s, buildings were removed and the tailings were impounded and was remediated, capped with 2-foot vegetated of soil cover. Due to prior use of the site as a mill and tailings deposition area, a declaration of environmental use restriction, a DOR, is in place on the site, and that regulates this 87-acre portion. The area is now part of the Man of the Maze Trails Park. This DOR and the deeds on the property regulate the use of this property to provide productive measures that influence the future of the site. So a quick recap of the Planning and Zoning Commission hearing. The specific plan was unanimously recommended for approval by the Planning and Zoning Commission on March 3rd, 2025. Discussions at P&Z involved the following primary items: buffering for the existing residential properties to south of El Toro Road. Provisions for buffering are provided in this specific plan, but neighbors expressed concerns about buffering during the public hearing. This buffering was then specifically discussed by P&Z members, and the condition of approval was included in the recommendation of approval as follows. Town staff is to explore enhanced landscaping options in the area on the south side of El Toro Road and to address surface drainage issues. Staff has explored this topic, and they have provided a memo in the packet, I believe it's on page 45 that you received, with a response to this. There was discussion about traffic generated by new users and road capacity. Since the end users are not yet known, appropriate measures cannot yet be chosen. The secondary planning and future development plans will require assessment of traffic generated by new development, and associated road improvements will be made by future developers. The water provider for the site was also a topic of discussion, and it will be Global Water. So let's talk about the purpose and intent of this specific plan. The Parcel 30 specific plan is a zoning entitlement that has been prepared to create the foundation for development of the property. The specific plan is uniquely appropriate in this instance where land is intended for development and where a master developer or end user is not yet determined. This is different than your typical rezoning, where the user may be known and more detailed site plan may be provided. The overall idea is to create flexible zoning and entitlement that enables the land to best meet current and future market demands. Through this, we can permit a broad range of uses that are compatible with the surrounding existing and proposed land uses. Since the town owns this property, town officials can be selective about selecting future users. that best align with the overall development vision for the property. This property is primarily intended for commercial recreational uses with supporting ancillary retail and commercial uses. It would also allow multiple dwelling residential, office, and other complementary uses. Timing is also important. Users are most interested in property that has already been zoned and permits an intended use. If the property is not properly zoned, this process typically requires many months, and users may not be interested in waiting that long. This specific plan, in large part, relies on existing development standards and the regulations of Sarita Town Code, but one of the great features of this specific plan is that it allows for its own development standards that may differ, and I will circle back to those standards that differ. So, compliance with the general plan is one of the most important things when considering a rezoning, and we believe this specific plan is compliant. The property is included within the Sarita Square District Plan, which designates this property for mixed use, which is the focus of this specific plan on the south end. This specific plan considers compatibility with surrounding land. The property immediately east of the specific plan is planned for development as part of the Sarita Farm specific plan. Property to the north of the subject property is zoned Rancho Sarita specific plan. Portions of this RSSP adjacent to the subject property are zoned medium density residential in town center. Existing development to the north is higher intensity and mixed uses. And it's actually where we're standing today, including the town hall and municipal court, a Sarita Aquatic Center, schools, a library, and commercial services. To the northwest of this specific plan. To the west and the southwest, this property is neighbored by single-family residential subdivisions, and buffering is proposed as part of this plan to ensure compatibility with any future uses. Existing development to the south consists of low-density single-family residential. Community outreach was part of this process. We held a neighborhood meeting on May 21st, 2024 to introduce the project to neighbors. Issues that were primarily discussed were the 60-foot buffer on the south side of El Toro Road within the right-of-way, drainage issues on La Villita, uses to be permitted on the property, potable water provisions, explanation of the remediation area, what building heights would be permitted, lighting restrictions, and the timing of development. So next we'll move on to the PDP, which is the preliminary development plan. This plan is conceptual, showing general areas for future development. Since there is no user for the site yet, the PDP does not show specific site plans. This plan shows things such as the configuration and size of the development acres. As you can see, there are 5. The primary points of vehicular access, which would include extensions of Starlight View and Desert Gem Lane to the north, as well as a road through the middle of the multi-use property on the south. Existing railroad spur is shown, and the majority of the area to the north in green is limited to recreational uses, while the 15 acres in the northern portion of this property in the darker green could be used for municipal use and complementary uses. The majority, areas south of the train tracks shown in orange are eligible for multiple uses, but no single-family residential. Existing electric, gas, and utility easements are shown in the purple crosshatches on the property, and then the location of buffers is also shown on this. There's a 40-foot buffer against the existing residential to the west, and the El Toro Road buffer is shown on there as well.
Can I just interrupt there? Because I know, looking at the notes, it was a 60-foot buffer on to the south and a 40-foot buffer
Yes.
to the west. Is there a reason where you have a road and everything else separating that it was wider, where there was some natural separation, as opposed to the west where there isn't as much?
So that was actually a product of discussions with staff and the neighbors to the south. When El Toro Road went in, they lost a lot of land north of their properties that was natural desert, so they wanted a wider buffer to separate themselves from the road because of the vast difference in what happened.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Okay, so we will talk about land use regulations. I'm mostly going to touch on which ones are going to differ from town code, not the ones not every single item in it. So the specific plan generally utilizes the town of Sarita mixed zones and as a basis for permitted land uses and development standards within the development units. All of the permitted uses in the mixed use zone of Sarita Town Code are permitted within development areas in the specific plan that are not located within the DOOR, so that would be the green area to the north. These additional uses are also allowed, but not allowed within the DOOR, and that would be small animal daycare, non-chartered financial institutions, handicraft and custom manufacturing, light assembly, medical or dental laboratories, and with a type 2 conditional use permit, we'd also allow printing, publishing, research and development, scientific design or experimentation will also be permitted. Wait. Okay. Areas 1 and 2 shown on the preliminary development plan are limited in their permitted uses, as Area 1 permits recreational and municipal uses only. Area 2 is subject to the DOOR and permits only recreational uses. Additionally, a warranty deed prohibits certain uses on development areas 3, 4, and 5, and that is in the deed. So the performance standards for the MX zone in the town code shall apply with the following exceptions. Town code requires mixed-use development with single-family attached or multifamily dwellings to be in the same building as a commercial use, and this will not apply in this specific plan. So multi-use could be horizontal rather than vertical. The maximum gross floor area for an individual tenant is 50,000 square feet when code allows for 30,000 square feet, and then the maximum gross floor area of the development complex is 80,000 square feet, and the code says 60. And then both of these numbers would be able to be increased through a type 2 conditional use permit. The development standards for the MX zone in the town of Sarita will apply, and the requirements for conditional use permits will be consistent with mixed use zone, except for pet grooming, pet stores, and veterinary services will no longer require a conditional use permit in the specific plan. Parking and loading standards will be the same. Required landscape buffering, screening standards will primarily be the same as town code, except for the additional buffering to be provided on El Toro Road. And then there will also be the 40-foot buffer residential along the western boundary of the specific plan. And this buffer will contain a minimum of 4 trees, 7 shrubs, 9 accents, and 100 linear feet. In every 100 linear feet, which is consistent with the 30-foot buffer, we added in numbers because the 40-foot is supposed to be natural, but since much of the site has been disturbed, it might not meet those standards to begin with, so it would be supplementing if necessary. So street standards will be the same as town code, and sign standards will generally follow town code, but will allow for flexibility in size within certain extents. The provision for recreation areas within the specific plan will be in accordance with Sarita Town Code, including preparation of a recreation area plan. So we'll talk about secondary planning. So secondary planning involves preparation of reports and plans to be prepared during the development plan or platting process. Typical subjects of the secondary planning are shown on the screen. They are reviewed by applicable town departments and approved administratively by community development directors. The report and plans must not only address the portions of the specific plan that is proposed for development, but also future development areas within this specific plan, where infrastructure will need to be extended in the future to serve future phases of development. This will ensure that infrastructure will be designed in a manner that considers the entire specific plan area and ensures infrastructure could be constructed in initial development phases. It is not only sized to handle and accommodate future development, but also can easily extend to serve future development. The property was posted and notified for this hearing, and we did receive 2 letters of protest that staff passed along today, with concerns mainly focused on the planned future uses of the site, and the parcel 30 specific plan is compliant with the Sarita general plan, as I mentioned before, and the district area plan, and these policy documents provide guidance for land users on the site, and this is designated for mixed use within those plans. This specific plan and the associated development regulations, including permitted uses, have been created with both existing and future surrounding land uses in mind and ensure that proposed development will be compatible and will be a good neighbor. And
Can I just stop you there, John? We have a lot of new council members. Can you just explain the protest form, what it gives rights to do or not do? Is it just to sort of notify the council that there's some apprehension? But if you could just touch on it.
Well, actually, Mayor and Council, the protest process is intended to require a supermajority vote. So under the state statute, if I think it's 20% of the landowners within, let's say 150 feet of the property, they have to sign a petition to constitute a protest of it. And all it does is require a supermajority vote of the council. So when you get sort of a letter protest, it's really just somebody writing in opposition to it. Doesn't amount to, under the statute, a protest.
Right.
So really, a protest has to follow the statutory process, and it's usually in the form of a petition. And then again, all it does is require a supermajority vote to approve.
Right, but there's a number that, like you said.
Yeah, whatever the number of 20% of the landowners around the property.
Adjacent, right.
So you take, well, I guess the north side would be the school and the church, but you take, of all the property owners on the east, south, and west, and then you have to have 20% of that number.
Right. So with two of them, it'd be more like a call to the public or...
Yeah, it's basically a letter in opposition.
Right.
I would classify it as that.
Right. Okay, thank you, appreciate that. Do you have any questions for either? We have to open the public hearing before we get to the questions. So right there now, this is...
I got a letter, but I didn't get the protest, which said it was included. That's why you only got 2 complaints.
Well, if you turn it into the town clerk, we can...
I didn't get the form. You said I got it, but I didn't get it. And if that's the case on my case...
I'm sorry.
Sorry.
A whole lot of people
Mayor,
didn't get it.
Yeah.
It'd be best if those comments during the public hearing came up here so it's on record.
Right. Right now, we're at the questions for staff or WLB. No, Debbie?
You said that some of the concerns of the residents was height. What is the height?
Height is typical mixed use, and the maximum building height should be, hold on, I'm on the wrong page. 45 by right and up to 56 feet with a type 2 CUP.
So 56, is that like 3 stories?
3 or 4.
3 or 4? Okay, thank you.
So right now, it would be 40, I'm sorry, what did I didn't...
45 by right and with a CUP, a type 2 CUP, it would be up to 56
But it
feet.
would take a CUP to get that?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, thank you. Other... Oh, yes, I'm sorry, Anna.
Mayor Murphy, if I may, I wanted to interject just a little bit about the commercial recreation uses. The visioning process for Parcel 30 started a long time ago, and a big part of that vision was to create a town center with commercial recreation uses where town residents can get together, recreate, have ancillary commercial and restaurant type uses. This zoning does allow for that. That was very important. We chose the MX mixed use zone because it does specifically allow for those types of complementary uses to create a town center. So just wanted to hit on that point a little bit more, that this zoning is in compliance and supportive of the Sahuarita Square District Area Plan policies.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate it. Well, before I go, I have a couple of comments, Card, but I was going to do that at the public hearing. Does anybody have any questions for staff before I open the public hearing? You had one, got that answered? Okay. At this time, I'll open the public hearing. I have 2 comment cards. One is Madison, I'm going to butcher it, Figaro? And please correct me when you get up here.
It's Fougere.
Fougere,
It's a
geez,
tough
I wasn't
one.
even close.
It's okay, better than most.
I apologize. You said it much nicer than I did too, by the way. I love that name.
Would you like a second chance?
No. Only if you do it.
Do I need to start a timer like there was?
No, they're going to start it for you. It'll show up on the screen in front of you once it starts. But if you start early.
Excellent. I'll just start speaking then.
Right.
Honorable council members, I stand before you today because I care about and wish to protect the Man in the Maze Trails Park. This park is an invaluable piece of our community that deserves to remain as it is, a space for nature, education, and community pride. This park is more than just land. It is a sanctuary of peace, offering escape from the noise and development of the pressures of everyday life. Families, dog owners, and park visitors who walk and bike its trails experience the quiet, reflective nature that sets it apart. Man in the Maze Park is also a living tribute to the rich biodiversity of the Sonoran Desert ecosystem that Sahuarita should be proud of. It features areas sown with a pollinator mix to attract native wildlife and transplanted cultural vegetation, including agaves, which support bat habitat. The trails also include educational signage covering topics such as traditional food plants of the Tohono O'odham Nation, pollinator conservation, and passive rainwater harvesting. This park's proximity to local schools allows it to be an outdoor classroom where students can explore biodiversity, learn about the cultural significance of the land, and gain a hands-on experience with the native ecosystem. At 87 acres, Man in the Maze Trail Park is the largest open and active park listed on the Sahuarita Parks and Recreation website, 4 times larger than the next largest Animax Park. To rezone this park now, barely a year after its birth, would be a complete waste of the money, time, and effort spent creating it. As the town of Sahuarita continues to grow, parks like this will only become more cherished. I urge you to honor the work that went into creating this special place and to keep it as an educational, cultural, and peaceful retreat that it was meant to be. By preserving this vibrant space, Sahuarita ensures the park remain a source of discovery, connection, and community pride for years to come. Thank you.
Thank you, I appreciate it. And a follow-up to that, Anna, that particular parcel piece is not going to be touched in this rezoning, correct? Can you just kind of clarify from what you heard?
Yes, thank you, Mayor Murphy. That's a good question. The park will remain intact. The rezoning does cover the park, but it is not changing the park use. The park will remain as is.
Right, and part of it is the original agreement because it's a site that has been mitigated and capped. We're very, very limited, though we're not even doing that part of it. But on the outset, we're very limited to what we can do to it anyways.
That's correct. It is really not developable because we can't dig beyond a certain number of inches in there. You wouldn't be able to install the required foundations.
Right.
I just
for
want to
anything.
call out, thank you, and I just want to remind all of us really that we acquired that property, and there's very explicit deed restrictions on that piece of property that would prohibit any kind of
Almost anything
any
other
building,
than-
really.
right.
It's meant to be and forever will be a passive recreation type
Right.
amenity for our community.
As the gentleman stated, that's the state that it will stay in.
So the Man in the Maze is safe.
Right.
Yep.
Thank you. Rory Meyer?
I know.
I bet I got that last name correct, didn't I? Thank you.
Hi, council members. Thank you for taking the time to hear our opinions on this matter today. I really appreciate it. So I also had some concerns with the park, but been reassured that we are safe in that department. However, nonetheless, it does, extend and overflow. So any of the critters and the habitat that's found in that park is also found on the other 2/3 of the lot. And in approving this measure, I think that it's important to address that you're knowingly making the following decision, which is subjecting hundreds of families to years of ongoing construction. The adjacent neighborhood that does not receive a 60-foot buffer has been under construction since 2023 and is still under construction as is. And the continued disruptions erode the quality of life that brings people here to Sahuarita. Which is peace, quiet, and community. And I'm not exactly sure where these 8 acres reside, but we also do know that there's 8 acres of land within these 233 acres preserved for pollinators, as Madison addressed. And finally, displacing native wildlife and destroying fragile habitats still stands. There's a lot of native cacti on this land. This company will be bulldozing a lot of saguaro cacti, which we all know are an awesome thing to have here in Arizona and unique to our ecosystem. And so I'm asking that you please honor your commitment to our community and culture and vote no on this rezoning, because it's going to affect everyone who, lives in that area too for years to come.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Anna, did you want to address the pollinator? I'm assuming that is probably part of the man in the maze, but unless you can specify within the specific plan of the other, the southern part we're talking about, is there open space or pollinators or anything associated with that particular property?
Thank you, Mayor Murphy. The pollinator garden is within Man in the Maze Park, so that will not be disrupted.
Okay. That's what I was thinking of. Thanks.
And just for any development land use, they are taking those saguaros and they're usually putting them in nurseries and replanting them. They're not bulldozing them, correct?
That is correct, Mayor Murphy, Vice Mayor Egbert. There are state laws regarding the preservation of saguaros, and those have to be followed.
Right. And part of the other thing that, and then I'll go to Shane, it's become aware that, within the next 2 or 3 years, people are moving to Arizona, but in southern Arizona especially, the amount of encumbered land, state land, Bureau of Land Management, the experimental range, the nation, on and on and on and on. There has to be at least at some point a recognition that most of it is not developable. We have very little private land in private hands, which, it's a decision. We could say, lock the door, throw away the key. But I'm just glad before I moved here, someone didn't say lock the door and throw away the key. But just to put that on the record, there's not a lot of developable land. Shane, did you have a comment?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor and Council. I certainly wouldn't see us doing anything different as property owners than what we expect the development community to do in terms of protection of wildlife and native vegetation to the greatest extent possible. In fact, as the property owner, I think we have every opportunity to set the bar even higher in terms of what we're going to do on that piece of property. So I just wanted to call that out. We're not just turning this over to any old developer. We're the property owner, and we don't have an end user in mind or in sight at this point. We're just really talking about a zone change that would potentially open up doors and opportunities for conversation to realize what that might be in the years to come. But we own the property. We're the property owner, and I think we have a great opportunity to do things great.
And that was why specifically we went for the recreation mixed use, right? It was with that intent in mind, that it wouldn't be single-family homes from, end to end from that perspective. Ma'am, in the audience that had spoken up earlier, this is your time. If you had a forum or you wanted to come up and have your 3 minutes to express your opinion, this is the time to certainly do it, and we welcome you for being here.
Hi, my name is Kay Darrell. I moved here about a year ago. I lived in the Vale area, had a larger property, downsized because of getting older. My concern about the development is only one thing, multiple family housing. I'm retired law enforcement from Milwaukee, Wisconsin, 25 years of service. And I saw a lot of bad things happen in multiple family housing. I'm concerned that in this community where there is no buses, how these people are going to move into multiple family housing if it's low income. With low income, small families have difficult times and are subject to being victims, and it brings in gang crime, drugs, and things that I don't see now in this city. And I'm concerned if you build multiple family low-income housing, you're going to have all kinds of big city problems you don't have. And your police department isn't big enough to handle the crime that's going to bring. And please reconsider. Or if this isn't low income, thank God, is it condos that they're going to buy and they'll be invested in the community? Or are they going to rent and bring in all the problems that that type of housing brings?
Thank you.
Thank you for listening.
Thank you for being here. Anna, can you just, touch on no, that was for Anna, touch on, the rezoning, and then as Shane said, what our intention was and how and when, well, you don't know the when, but when it does develop, what the process is, addressing, some of those concerns, and what would a future developer or property, manager, so to speak, how would that process look? This isn't like, I'm assuming, I'm answering sort of my own question, but this is not a free-for-all, we just get blanket permission, anybody does anything they want. I think you know the gist of the concern in the question.
Yes, Mayor Murphy, members of the council, I understand the concern and the question. Right now, we're just rezoning the property. The town remains as the landowner, so we have the ultimate authority to decide who goes on that land. We built into the specific plan a secondary planning process, so when we do have a user at that point, we would go through the development plan process. If there's a conditional use required, we would go through that process prior to the development plan. Any drainage studies, traffic reports, those types of reports would come along later when there's a user. It's extremely difficult to predict those types of things if you don't know who's going on the property or what kind of footprint they're going to have. So at this time, we're strictly talking about use possibilities. And once the zoning is in place, then the town can start looking for users. And like I said, we do have the ability to decide who goes there and who doesn't.
Right, and that's where the public will have input. If we all of a sudden decided we're gonna go condos from, east to west and north to south, obviously, I don't think that would happen with this council or any council, but those are the times when those concerns can be brought to us, correct?
Unless there's a conditional use permit, there's not a public process. If you look through the list of uses in the specific plan, it tells you which uses are CUPs, which are the conditional uses, and that's when the public has more input later on about the uses that go there. The council, as the property owner, has that ability, and because you're elected officials, I know that you want to be responsive to your community.
Thank you. Appreciate
Mayor?
that. Yes.
I'll just add a little bit to this. We've heard over the last couple of years a lot of needs from the council. You guys recognize that in terms of housing inventory, we're not really diverse. We have a little bit in the larger lot stuff, but most of it is your small lot development. And I think this council has recognized that diversifying that inventory of housing brings a certain richness to our community where people can grow up here, stay here, live here, work here. It's just part of bringing greater opportunities for first-time homeowners and what have you. That comes sometimes with a natural tendency to draw connections as we think about what that might look like in the future. I just want to underscore what Anna mentioned. This zoning was meant to provide flexibility so that we could look at all of those different things and settle on a use, a vision, and then an ultimate use for this property that is the right thing for our community. It might involve, we're approaching this, very much through the lens of commercial recreation.
Right.
But we understand that in any commercial recreation venture, there are likely supporting elements of land use that could accommodate and support that. And that could be retail, it could be multifamily housing. But I don't think any of you envision something that would bring about the kind of concerns that we've heard tonight. I think we need to be ultra careful as we consider what those options are down the road. And part of the exercise that you heard at your retreat from economic development, in terms of getting the land use planners in here to do a visioning on that piece of property, is very much part of that process. We're trying to take incremental steps and do it very intentionally so that we know that at the end of the day, when we have a deliverable in terms of a product and a vision, we are really moving forward in something that represents the best interest of the community.
And that's a good term, incremental steps, because that's how, I wanted the residents to know that's what this is, incremental steps. And as it is, flushed out, there's lots of opportunities to weigh in. John?
Yeah, Mayor, just want to point out that the reason that multifamily housing is allowed is because the deed restriction prohibits first floor housing because of on that southern portion.
Right.
Obviously, nothing can be developed on the northern portion above the railroad tracks. So the reason that concept was sort of brought in was that it'd be more like condos or apartments above retail or above, sort of like you see in some other developments, mostly Maricopa County. So that's the multifamily housing aspect. I don't think I don't think we contemplated apartment development.
Right.
The other thing I wanted to bring up is and I'm going to correct Anna, but because the town is the owner of the property, the town's going to have to either enter into a lease or a sale. And more than likely, that would also involve a development agreement.
Right.
So that'll all, so whether it's for the whole southern portion or it's pieces of that will all involve a public process.
Right.
So it typically, as Shane was saying and Anna was saying, if this were a rezoning for a private developer, this would kind of be the process, and that would be generally it. Here, because any developer who's going to develop the property has to basically get council approval, not only for the sale or the lease of the property, but also the development itself.
Right.
So there will be sort of another bite at the apple with specifics, because we would probably want to require that if a developer comes in, they do development agreement and they have a development plan, which will be very specific.
Right.
And that will allow for public input, because it has to be done at a council meeting.
Right.
Correct.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Thanks, Anna. I still have the public hearing open. Does anybody else like to address the council on this particular matter? Seeing no movement, I will close the public hearing, and I'll open it up for either further discussion or entertain a motion at this time, based on what you heard. That would be the ordinance
There
itself.
we go. I was on a different screen. I move to adopt ordinance 2025-182.
I second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Aye.
Oh, thank you. Well, having no more further business, we're adjourned. See everybody May 12th. And Wednesday, Randy, not Tuesday.
Can